And of course, we watch him off of turn 11. Davey, I remember, so vividly a couple of years ago when it looked like Helio Castroneves might have his first IZOD IndyCar Series win in his back pocket, but instead he misses his braking point going into turn 11, and a hard lick on the outside of that wall as he just drove it right into the safer bear.
Yeah, and we've seen mistakes even turn 10 and 11. They're both so fast.
Yeah, we've got a car
Charlie Kimball.
Charlie Kimball, who of course had the problems at Iowa Speedway a couple of weeks ago. Jake Query, he has come to a stop in the boot.
He has done so just before what we would call turn number 7, and to picture a boot that is actually sitting sideways, he was starting to go in towards the shoelaces, if you will, just off the shoelaces in towards the toe of the boot, and his car has come to a stop. So Charlie Kimball stops, and the car he has not gotten out of the car. He is, I think, waiting for somebody to maybe give him a push. But Charlie Kimball just out of my line of sight, actually, because there's a row of trees right in the middle of the boot, and that's where Charlie Kimball is as the safety unit heads out. So Charlie Kimball sits and waits. Of course, he had a problem at the beginning of the race in Iowa in the last outing when Charlie Kimball got loose. So, Kevin Lee, this is something for Charlie Kimball where bad luck continues, it appears.
Down in the Andretti Autosport AFS Racing pit, they don't know what the problem is because they can't establish radio contact with Charlie, so they're just as much in the dark as we are right now.
So the yellow flag continues to fly. We were expecting to go green flag racing next time by, but it appears that we will do at least one more lap as Charlie Kimball, as we heard from Jake Query, has come to the stop in the toe of the boot. And right now the team really unsure what has gone on. It looked like Charlie Kimball simply lost power. As we mentioned, he crashed out on lap number 1 at Iowa Speedway a couple of weeks ago. Charlie Kimball, of course, wanting to keep himself in the championship hunt, currently running second, 23 points behind championship leader J.K. Bernay. James Hinchcliffe comes into this event 28 points back as the pole sitter. Sebastian Saavedra 32 points back, and Martin Plowman, who gave us our lap around description, he starts this race tied with Sebastian Saavedra for fourth. He is also 32 points back. Well, we're being told that we do intend to go green this time by, despite the fact that we are still seeing the yellow flag. So, Davey, the Homatro safety team down there right now tending to Charlie Kimball, trying to get him out of the way, get him towed back so that he could possibly get restarted. But it is no small task to get a car from point A to point B at this track because it is simply so long.
And unfortunately, they may just take him to one of the off, not into pit lane, but just one of the emergency exits off the racetrack. And bad news for Charlie. I mean, first lap in Iowa, his car steps out at him, he gets into the wall, and now he doesn't even get to start the race, it looks like here. And they're towing him in. We'll see if they bring him to the pits, Mike, or if they take him to an emergency exit.
Mark Janes, if there is a worst-case scenario for a championship contender, it has struck Charlie Kimball not once but now twice, 2 times in a row at Iowa and now here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Mike, coming in 23 points behind James Hinchcliffe. This is a prime opportunity for him. He is just 28 points back. Then Saavedra and Plowman are 32 points back. It's those 4 that are chasing the rookie J.K. Bernay. Bernay had struggled a bit after winning the first couple of races, but he started to get things going in the right direction at Iowa again. But no question for Charlie Kimball. He avoided a big points hit at Iowa because 13, 14 cars started there. With only 14 starting here, it's not a huge points hit, but still the big one, especially when you consider the guys that are right behind you within 5, 6, 7, 8 points are going to be in the race, and it looks like you may do no better than 14 today.
Okay, we are in formation, so we are going to go green as the cars now cross in front of Mark Janes in turn number 9. But meantime, Jake Query, where are they going to park Charlie Kimball? They're not going to be able to get him back to pit lane.
No, they just pulled him around all the way through turn number 8, and he's now into the view of Mark Janes. The safety car got on his giddy up going through turn 8. Now they're in the view of Mark Janes pulling Charlie Kimball.
They're taking him back. They're taking him back to pit road, Mike. He's exiting turn number 9 right now on the toe strap.
Okay, so Charlie Kimball still out on the course. Meantime, we're ready to go racing here in the Corning 100 at Watkins Glen International. Car number 2, James Hinchcliffe, currently 3rd in championship points, will break Davey Hamilton into turn number 1, and this is a downhill run as you move through before you start uphill towards the S's.
Yeah, good turn 1 for these guys. One guy a little high, but they paved the outside of turn 1 just in case they get a little anxious and gets in a lot of room. But Mike, great turn 1, great turn 2 going up through the S's right now.
J.K. Vernay now has picked up second place as Stephen Wilson has dropped back to third as they drag race now down this long back straightaway into one of the most famous portions of this course, the bus stop. It is James Hinchcliffe who will come in and out first. And it is James Hinchcliffe running first. J.K. Vernay runs second. Stephen Wilson is third as everyone now looks like safely through as they're in the carousel. Turn number 5, and they'll head to Jake Query in turn number 6 and the boot.
And when they make that turn out of the carousel and head into the boot, it's a downward spiral to the left, and James Hinchcliffe has already come through. Then J.K. Vernay about 6 car lengths or so behind him, and then you see the car of Stephen Wilson, and actually now Sebastian Saavedra gets by him for third. So as they go by now and head into turn 8, it's Hinchcliffe, then Vernay, Saavedra, and then Stephen Wilson as they make the righty in 8.
Still no change as they exit turn number 8. Hinchcliffe starting to step out by about 8 or 9 car lengths as they start to climb back up the hill. Saavedra is firmly entrenched in third. Vernay is the sandwich in that number 7 Lucas Oil machine. Then the 28 machine of Stephen Wilson. The 4 machine of Anders Krohn is on the move. He's worked his way into the top 10.
So J.K. Vernay in car number 7 gets a good start, but not nearly as good as the start of James Hinchcliffe, Davey Hamilton, as he'll complete lap number 1 with about a 20-car length lead on car number 7 being driven by Vernay. And as we mentioned, we saw Sebastian Saavedra go to third.
Yeah, he's in a good position right now, Mike. When you start on the pole and you're fast all weekend, you know you have a good race car. He's a big lead now. He can just kind of cruise, take it easy. Doesn't want Vernay to catch up to him, but he doesn't have no pressure on him to make a mistake.
Boy, and look at the lead that we have already seen James Hinchcliffe build up here, Davey, as they climb the S's. Back, what a great start for Hinchcliffe, but, you know, we expected this. He has been fast in every session. He's on pole. He was the fastest in the final practice session. And James Hinchcliffe right now working, as we mentioned, on just about a 20-car length lead over Vernay as now they head back into the carousel in turn number 5.
Yeah, and by the way, about a second faster than 4th quickest. I mean, we see usually the whole field within a second. He has his place pinned, Mike. He's really getting on here well.
So it's Hinchcliffe, Vernay, Saavedra, Wilson, and Krohn. Your top 5. An update on Charlie Kimball from Kevin Lee.
Said it felt like the car ran out of fuel, but the fuel pressure light did not come on. But that's the issue, and they've come back in. They've restarted the car twice. Both times it has eventually died, and Charlie has said it just feels like it's running out of fuel. So they're taking the engine cowling off one more time to try to figure out see if they can figure out the issue.
The field already through turn number 8. Mark James, they make the climb to UN9.
Took a peek over my left shoulder where I see the entrance to the boot and the number 22 machine, I should say, of Adrian Campos Jr. has given Martin Plowman fits in that 27 AFS Andretti Autosport machine. He almost got to the inside of him at the entrance to 5. For a while, Campos Jr. sat on the front row with his teammate, and we've got cars into the wall. Dust flies, and we're having trouble until the dust settles, picking out who it is. But it was at the exit of turn number 9, Mike. Cars bouncing into the guardrail at the exit of turn number 9.
Well, Dan Clark, one of the cars involved, Mark James, the blue machine, but there's another white car. I believe that might be Pippa Mann. Her view, the view of the white car completely obscured as Pippa Mann was running back there in 13th position. Dan Clark was shown last time by in 13th, 12th place make it. So 2 cars get together, Mark James, and you know we talk about how tricky this area is between 9 and 10. And Davey Hamilton, you've seen the replay.
Yeah, Pippa Mann looks like Pippa Mann going underneath Dan Clark and just ran into him, ran right into his left rear, and took them both right into the wall.
Wow. So here's another replay, Davey, looking from turn number 10.
Yeah, he was on the outside line as high as he could go. Pippa just really drove into his left rear and drove them both straight into the wall. Really, a really big mistake.
So here we are with less than 3 laps complete in this event, and Mark James' attrition already a problem. We lost Charlie Kimball before the drop of the green flag, and now both Pippa Mann and Dan Clark are on the sidelines.
And Dan Clark is walking away from Pippa Mann. No exchange between the two of them. Looks like he's going to climb into one of the Homatro safety vehicles. Pippa Mann was looking for a way to get over the fence, but I think she's going to catch a ride with one of the safety vehicles as well. Again, at the exit of turn number 9, there's a set of rumble strips. That's where they got together. About halfway between 9 and 10 is where they came to rest, and fortunately, both were able to climb out of the car under their own power, but as you said, unfortunately, their day is done.
Dan Clark came into race number 6 on the Firestone Indy Lights schedule, running 11th in the championship, just a point behind Pippa Mann, who was shown 10th in the standings. Obviously, this is going to do nothing to help their day. Meantime, out in front, the fast guys, James Hinchcliffe from Toronto, Canada. He has, despite the fact we've only seen 2.5 laps, 2 laps at speed, James Hinchcliffe has already proven that he is going to be the driver to beat here today. Championship leader J.K. Vernet currently runs second. Sebastian Saavedra has improved from his starting position just a bit, as Saavedra went from fourth to third. Justin Wilson, though, meantime, Davey, has dropped from second to fourth. As make it Stephen Wilson. My apologies for confusing him with his brother Justin, who will race later today. Stephen Wilson has dropped from second to fourth, and Davey did not have a particularly good start.
Yeah, I think his start wasn't that good. He lost one position there. I think you just missed a corner somewhere, and when you're that packed up, you make a little mistake, you can take advantage of it by another guy. So he's still fast. I think he'll still be something to threat with it then. Well,
we want to say attention to you Indy Downforce and IndyCar Nation members. Your code word for the Firestone Indy Lights Corning 100 is boot. Go to your IndyCar Nation homepage and click on the Earn Points section, then enter the secret word under the radio portion. You'll receive 400 points. Again, the code word is boot. And, of course, thanks to listening to live coverage of the Firestone Indy Lights Corning 100 here on IndyCar.com. Also want to say a big welcome and hello to all the fans around this beautiful Watkins Glen International course listening to us today on the public address system here at WGI. And Davey, let's face it, you know, when it comes to road course racing in this country, it really doesn't get any better than Watkins Glen.
No, I mean, what a fast race course this is. I mean, our average speeds are just incredible around here, and it's fun to drive, Mike. I mean, I'll be honest, it's one of the oldest racetracks we go to, but it's a lot of fun. It's the boot. I really enjoy the boot because that's more of a technical part of the track. It's a little bit slick down in the toe of it and has some concrete patches that you got to pay attention to. And then coming on to 8 and 9, I think, is a lot of fun. But this racetrack is a fantastic place, and you know what makes it? Beautiful part of the country, Mike. I mean, what a beautiful part of the country. A lot of campers out enjoying a good weekend of racing.
Yeah, the Finger Lakes region of New York State is absolutely gorgeous. And Kevin Lee, while this is bad news certainly for Dan Clark and Pippa Mann, a bit of a blessing, if you will, for Charlie Kimball. His crew's had time to get his car, whatever the problem was, diagnose it, get it fixed, and get it back out.
And that was part of the conversation. 2 are out, so let's methodically figure this out and get out and score some points. So Kimball, is he, 3 or 4 laps down, but he's back out there and can at least get up to 12th position.
Yeah, he's 3 laps down, and you're right. I mean, Kevin, theoretically, it would be, and Mark, let's face it, 1 or 2 other drivers go out. Charlie Kimball could wind up with a 7th or 8th place finish here today.
Well, hold on to second place of the points. At the very least, he's going to stay within striking distance of the leader. So very, very quick work by the folks at AFS and Andretti Autosport to get him back out onto the track. And, he may be able to salvage a decent day out of this, Charlie Kimball, which would be huge.
Well, the yellow and white, number 2, the TMR Team More Racing Extreme Coil Drilling car, that's the car to beat here today. No doubt about it. James Hinchcliffe felt very comfortable in the role of the favorite. Following yesterday's qualifying session, we weren't able to get to it a little bit earlier, but now that we're under yellow for the cleanup continuing between turns 9 and 10, let's hear from our top 3 qualifiers as they talk to Jake Query and Kevin Lee following yesterday's session.
James Hinchcliffe will start on the pole for the 3rd time this season. How did you get this one done?
Oh, I mean, it was a heck of a lap. You know, this track's just incredible, and to have the chance to drive here is awesome. And I really enjoy coming here. And I mean, the team just gave me a great car. Huge thanks to Lee Dykstra. This thing was a monster today, and it really let me push my limits and the limits of the racetrack. And it was just so much fun to drive. So huge credit to the boys, and everything went our way today. It was really good.
And I learned it's the 3rd consecutive pole here for Lee Dykstra with 3 different drivers, so you've hooked up with the right guy. When you look to this race, you've got the advantage, but there are some passing opportunities.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is by no means a done deal. You know, this racetrack usually breeds great racing for us in Indy Lights, and it's going to be about the guy who can keep those Firestones under him for the entire race. And I think we've been having great wear on our tires, so we're really pleased about that. And the car was just as good in race trim as it was in qualifying trim. So get a clean start, clean first lap, and that run down to the bus stop is going to be a bit hairy, but I think if everyone plays nice, we can have a really good race.
You got that first win in this series out of the way at Long Beach. Does that help your comfort zone a little bit for this race?
Yeah, I think for sure. Once you get that monkey off your back, that first win, it opens things up a little bit. And, I think we had a car to be running up front in Iowa, but we had that problem in qualifying. And so, ovals, road courses, I think we've got a good package, and I'm just really looking forward to tomorrow, and hopefully we can bring home that 2nd win of the season.
Congratulations on the pole. James Hinchcliffe looking to get to victory lane. He will lead the field here at Watkins Glen International.
Jake Query.
Stephen Wilson had come here with a best career start at Watkins Glen of 19th. You let it all hang out. You finished P2. Pretty good starting position, but that last lap, take me through it. You were letting it all hang.
Yeah, no, I'm really pleased with the performance this weekend. We've been really strong all weekend, and it's just a shame that number 2 car's up there. He's been beating me in all 3 in the 2 practices and the qualifying, so I've got to pay a lot of respect for my guys. They've done a lot of work this weekend, and we're working really hard now to try and make up on the points championship. But I just want to take the time to thank Brian Hill, Motorsport, and all the crew. You know, we've got a solid starting position for tomorrow's race. We just got to now think about our race car and hopefully, you know, make the right calls and help run a clean race, and you know, just try and get that second podium. Obviously, it's really crucial to get my championship back on going. So yeah, I also got to thank all my my family at home. Just want to say hello to them and you know, wish them all well.
Speaking of your family, we talked about your brother Justin, of course, who won here a year ago, starts 6th tomorrow in the Eyes on IndyCar Series. How much do you guys talk about, not necessarily racing, but this track in general? He obviously knows this track and has a feel for it. What was he able to teach?
It was a really special moment last year. Obviously, I was here with him. My race didn't go quite as well, but you know, it was great to see him climb the top step of the podium, and you know, especially for the Dale Coyne racing squad. So you know, it was a very special moment, and it's one we've talked about in the, you know, over the winter. You know, just what an incredible job he did, and you know, it was, you know, good for me to come back here and put a solid performance like I'm doing now.
All right, Stephen Wilson, car number 28, will start 2nd here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and Stephen Wilson right now is running 4th after a poor start, as we mentioned. We'll see what he does on the restart, as the wreckage has been cleared, and we should be good to go back to green flag racing as we see the cars approaching turn number 8. Very quickly, let's catch up, Kevin Lee, with Pippa Mann. What's her take on that incident with Dan Clark?
Pippa, tell us what happened.
I was making the pass up the inside. Dan had a big lunge into one. If I hadn't have pedaled out of that, we'd have both crashed. I had the inside line. He didn't really want to give me room, and I guess he went off at the exit, spun, and took us both out of the race. So I'm not very happy about it. Obviously, there's nothing I can do now. He looked like he had an injured car. So if he didn't have an injured car, he was coming to the back pretty quick, but it looked injured, so I assumed he was going to give me room with an injured car, and I had the pass made, but that's life.
That's Pippa Mann.
James Hinchcliffe with a good restart, Davey Hamilton, and he'll take about a 10-car length lead into turn number 1 as he heads downhill with J.K. Vernet and Sebastian Saavedra in tow. And it looked like on the restart, Wilson got high, exiting turn number 1, and it looks like someone give up another position.
Maybe even 2, Mike, going up for this right now. Lost momentum. Yeah, oh, he just lost 1 more. Yeah, fell back in another spot. But that's the good thing is when you overshoot turn 1, it is asphalt now, so you can recoup from that. And on Pippa's comments, I think she'll be a little surprised when she sees the replay. You know, Dan didn't get sideways at all. She definitely hit him in the left rear and turned him around. I think she'll be pretty surprised when she sees it.
Yeah. Well, as is often the case, when drivers see exactly what happened once they have the opportunity to see it on video versus from the cockpit of the car. Jake Query, the cars are going to be coming back to you. James Hinchcliffe, looks like this could be one big-time day for Hinch, who got his first win ever in this series at Long Beach a few weeks ago. Looking for win number 2, and right now they head to you in the booth.
James Hinchcliffe did, as you said, get that first win at Long Beach. He had a pole at St. Petersburg a year ago, turned just 7 circuits here. He heads into turn number 8. Then behind him, it's J.K. Vernet, followed by Sebastian Saavedra, and Anders Krohn moving up. He's in 4th.
Vernet pedaling just a little harder now. He's pulled in within about 6 car lengths. Sebastian Saavedra trying to pull up on the 7 machine. Then it's a pretty nice gap to Anders Krohn. Again, that rookie driving in his first ever Firestone Indy Lights race. Mike putting on a pretty good show here. Worked his way into the top 5 as he comes into turn number 11.
Yeah, Anders Krohn in car number 4, the rookie from Norway in that Anderson Racing machine, as he was able to pick up the position. As we mentioned, Stephen Wilson had problems on the restart and dropped back another 2 positions. Davey, is now Wilson will be shown in 6th place as he runs behind Plowman heading into 1.
Yeah, doesn't show a lot of strength right now. Obviously, he's had a few issues on first lap and restart, so could be a situation where his car's not good on cold tires, not that good on restarts, but hopefully as the race progresses, gets heat in those tires and gets settled down, maybe he'll pick up some speed.
With 6 laps complete, James Hinchcliffe is your leader, has led from the pole and has looked to be the strongest car on track here today. J.K. Bernay, the championship leader, runs second. Sebastian Saavedra up to third. Anders Krohn now runs in fourth place. Martin Plowman runs in fifth place, and Stephen Wilson is being shown in sixth place. Adrian Campos Jr. is seventh. Gustavo Jacobin is eighth. Winslow is ninth. Major is 10th. Barbosa runs 11th. Kimball runs 12th. Back on track after a problem on the pace lap. Then you've got Dan Clark shown in 13th place and Pippaman 14th. That's what they'll be credited with here today after a second lap collision exiting turn number 9 between 9 and 10. The leader right now, James Hinchcliffe. In front of you, Jake Query in the sole of the boot.
James Hinchcliffe moves out of the sole of the boot. He's got about an 8 car length advantage moving into 8th.
Looking at the battle for fifth place rather, seeing it shape up nicely. That's Sebastian Saavedra with Wilson in tow, the 22 machine of Adrian Campos Jr. Then it's Gustavo Jacobin about 4 car lengths back. That's the best battle on the racetrack. It makes its way through turn number 10. Meanwhile, the leader exiting 11th.
Mark Janes, Sebastian Saavedra all but guaranteed me on Tuesday's Peak Performance Fantasy Racing Show that he would win here this weekend. If, in fact, he's going to win this race, he's got a lot of pedaling to do to catch up to both Hinchcliffe and Bernay. It looks like those two guys right now are going to be tough to beat.
He's hoping to get that Firestone repeat bonus that goes to back-to-back winners. J.K. Bernay won that earlier this season. Saavedra went from wire to wire at Iowa. He led all 115 laps, and he's trying to be only the second driver to go back-to-back this season after Bernay swept St. Pete and Barber. Then Hinchcliffe, as Jake Query said a few moments ago, took long beats. Now, Wade Cunningham was in that 77 machine that's being piloted by rookie James Winslow today. He was the winner of the Firestone Freedom 100. He's not currently running in the series. And then, of course, Saavedra, a winner 2 weeks ago at Iowa.
Adrian Campos Jr. right now, Mark James, really trying to put the pressure on the Stephen Wilson car, and you mentioned that last time by, so we'll keep our eye on car number 22. It is the teammate out of the Timor Racing stable to James Hinchcliffe, our leader, who is in car number 2. As once again, the car is now showing 7 of 30 laps complete. Jake Query, they head to the boot.
And a couple of good battles going on towards the back of the pack as James Hinchcliffe roars by. And still that battle that Mark mentioned now as Campos looks to the outside of Martin Plowman coming out of the toe of the boot. Martin Plowman has him in tow by about 2 car lengths or so. Campos trying to make a move on that 27.
And he'll take a peek to the bottom side this time. Wilson is all over the machine of Sebastian Saavedra as they make their way up the climb towards turn number 9. Sebastian Saavedra with Wilson a half a car length back. Then it's 3 car lengths back to Campos Jr. The 22 machine now about 5 car lengths in front of Gustavo Jacobin through 10.
Back on the front straight here in front of us. There goes James Hinchcliffe, the bright yellow and white Extreme machine. Then you've got the Lucas car of J.K. Bernay. Behind him, the William Rasmussen machine of Sebastian Saavedra. Then to number 4, silver, gray, and red car of Anders Krohn. That is your top 4 as they make the right-hand turn into turn number 1. Then they will head downhill before the hill bottoms out. Then they begin to climb up through the S's onto this long back straightaway. And James Hinchcliffe is already in the S's, making his way towards the bus stop as the top 3 cars now threatening to pull away just a bit as they have put a good deal of distance between themselves and the 4th place car of Anders Krohn. Can James Hinchcliffe open it up to the point where it's only he and Bernay fighting as they make their way through the carousel down into turn number 6 as Jake Query right now about a 30 car length lead for James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, it's like a Sunday drive here, the 4th of July for James Hinchcliffe as he heads what would be west in Schuyler County. A beautiful backdrop in front of him, the mountains here of eastern New York as James Hinchcliffe works his way around the toe of the boot. He swings it wide. He's got about an 8 or maybe 10 car length advantage now on J.K. Bernay. Then Sebastian Saavedra another 15 car lengths behind J.K.
Yeah, the leader is starting to make it look a bit like a test session. Bernay can see him, but I don't think he's in striking distance, and Sebastian Saavedra continues to fade. Meanwhile, Stephen Wilson is all over Martin Plowman. They exit turn number 8, make their way up 9. They'll come to the high side, then get to the bottom just off the rumble strips. Then a wide swing upon the exit. Wilson climbs back into the throttle a little quicker. They make their way through turn 10.
Yeah, that, I think, Mark, has been the most entertaining battle on track as the AFS Andretti Autosport machine, Martin Plowman, the yellow and red car running just in front of Stephen Wilson, who started on the outside of the front row. But at the same time, the 22 car of Adrian Campos Jr. trying to get himself in it as well. The top 10, James Hinchcliffe is out in front with 9 of 30 being shown complete. J.K. Renee runs second. Saavedra is third. Crone is fourth. Plowman is fifth. Wilson is sixth. Campos Jr. is seventh. Yakiman is eighth. Winslow is ninth. And Major is 10th. The pit lane and Kevin Lee.
Dan Clark had taken out early in that in the race. Contact with Pippa Mann. How did you see what happened?
She hit me from behind, so I could see in my mirrors where she was. And she got a run on me because I let Winslow through the previous corner, and I gave her space. I went in wide into the left-hander at the top of the hill, and she just hit me on the exit of the corner. I think she was, I don't know, she drifted into my line, you know. I gave her space, but she didn't give me space, and we're both out of the race now. And I'm frustrated. We had a tough weekend. We found a bad damper last night, which was responsible for our pace yesterday. And we were P5 in warm-up today, so it was looking like our luck had turned around, but we got taken out in the race.
Dan Clark, unfortunately, back here in the paddock much too early.
Heading into turn number 8, Mark James. The battle continues between 5th place Martin Plowman, 6th place Stephen Wilson, and 7th place Adrian Campos Jr.
Wilson's breaking points a little bit later at the entrance to the boot. That's allowed him to pull up, but it just seems like Plowman's quicker off the turn. That time the case as well, as Plowman stretches it out a car length or two. But meanwhile, Wilson's got his mirrors are full, talking about Plowman's and Stephen Wilson as they enter turn 11.
And I got to wonder if at this point, Mark James, Adrian Campos Jr. is not just sitting back there waiting to see what's going to develop between the Brian Herta Autosport car of Wilson and the Plowman car, the AFS Andretti Autosport car, because it looks like right now Campos Jr. has a pretty good race car, but is I guess, treading lightly, if you will, with those two guys running in front of him.
Mike, after the first 3 races, he was 16th, 13th, and 15th, and he struggled mightily. In Indianapolis, he gained a measure of confidence in the Freedom 100, bringing home a top 10. And I'll tell you, he really had a great weekend in Iowa. He started 5th and finished 4th. That was his first top 5 of the season. And, you know, for a while yesterday, he was with his teammate on the front row during qualifying for this morning 100. So Adrian Campos showing a little maturity here at the midway point of the Firestone Indy Lights campaign. And, you know, we talk about AFS and Andretti Autosport and Sam Schmidt and their dominance. Now it looks like Team Morris set to join them as a force to be reckoned with week in and week out.
So we continue to watch the battle as it is Plowman, Wilson, and Campos Jr. right now waging the best battle on track, 5th, 6th, and 7th place. Up in front, James Hinchcliffe. Mark James, I tell you, he's got to be feeling like he's got a great race car and is smooth as silk as we watch him through 9.
First 3 making it look like a test session, quite frankly. But, Mike, I continue to be impressed with the rookie Anders Crone. I mean, he has that battle for 5th going on behind his rear wing between the 27, the 28, and the 22 machine. But Anders Crone, his first time in a Firestone Indy Lights race, is really doing a great job for Anderson Racing, a team that's been to victory lane before and has had a pretty good stable of drivers during their time in the Indy Lights Series.
And Mark Anders Crone is a driver who has been honing his skills in the Star Mazda Series. He's looking to climb the ladder. And as you mentioned, his first time in these cars, making a very good showing for himself, and I'm sure for the team owner, Dan Anderson.
Well, we also might check in with Kevin Lee. Of course, Kevin, Jake Query, and I have had the opportunity to cover a couple of Star Mazda and USF 2000 races, both at Iowa Speedway and also at O'Reilly Raceway Park, which is in Claremont, just outside the shadows of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Kevin, we've been awfully impressed with Anders Crone, and he comes with a fairly impressive resume.
This season, he's been a runner-up a couple of times, including last weekend in one of the doubleheader races at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and he won last year at Milwaukee. He drops a position now. He finished 6th in the championship last year.
Yeah, Kevin, we were watching Anders Crone through the bus stop, and he gives up the position as looked like Martin Plowman was able to make the pass. And now Jay Query's Anders Crone. It looks like he's developed perhaps the car may have gone off just a bit as he's got other guys looking to get past him in the boot.
He's got Stephen Wilson right behind him, and then right behind Stephen Wilson is Campos Jr., who you mentioned might have been waiting just to see what would happen. Right now, as they go by here, Martin Plowman has Anders Crone about 4 car lengths behind him, then Wilson, and then waiting patiently is Campos Jr.
27 machine of Martin Plowman leading that freight train out of the boot, coming up the hill toward turn number 9. He'll dial it left first, then it's Crone, the 28 machine of Wilson, the 22 machine of Campos Jr. Now all of a sudden, the number 10 machine of Gustavo Jacobin finds himself within striking distance as they roar through turn number 10.
Yeah, so Gustavo Jacobin, who really didn't play into this picture until that last pass through the bus stop, has found some speed as they cross in front of us. Martin Plowman, the 27 car, will now be shown in 4th place as your top 10. It's Hinchcliffe, Bernays, Saavedra, Plowman. Crone has dropped a position to 5th. Then Wilson, who is 6th. Campos Jr. is 7th. Gustavo Jacobin is 8th. Winslow is 9th. And Major is 10th. Going to be interesting to see what they do as they climb the hill. Looks like whatever marked the problem might have been for Anders Crone as he gave up the position going up the back straight and into the bus stop last time by. He's figured it out. He's back up to speed as the battle now starts to heat up between Campos Jr. and Stephen Wilson.
No question. You and I have spent some time in the last couple of days watching drivers take different lines through the bus stop, especially through the Firestone Indy Light Series. And, you know, a guy that's a rookie who might not have a lot of experience on this course, if he took a line other than what he's used to, made a little bit of a bobble, that could cost him a lot of momentum, especially in these cars. And when you've got cars tightly bunched up behind you, that's going to cost you a position or two. But there was some concern that maybe the handling of the car was going away a little bit, but it appears as though he settled back into a nice race pace.
Jake Query, this battle for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. These drivers in front of you now in the sole of the boot.
Yeah, Martin Plowman gives himself a little bit of breathing room, but now has to check up a little bit, and that gives Anders Crone a chance to narrow it down just a little bit. Then Wilson, and again, it's Campos Jr.
No change in that. Gustavo Jacobin again stays about 6 car lengths behind the yellow and white 22 machine of Adrian Campos Jr. But Martin Plowman suddenly has found himself some breathing room. He's already into your view of the main straightaway.
While we watch that battle continue to heat up, the differential between your leader, James Hinchcliffe, and the Frenchman, 2nd place, J.K. Bernays, Mark James, it has grown to 2.1 seconds, and we've got a problem. Stephen Wilson, it looks like Wilson, it may be an engine problem there as Kevin Lee, a big plume of smoke as he made his way down the front straight, and he will pull the car off the track in wide.
Yeah, we could see the smoke as they came out of turn number 11 all the way down the front stretch, and he has pulled it off safely into turn number 1. There is a yellow in that area, and we have stayed green as far as the full course is concerned.
Yep, so that the end of the day for Stephen Wilson, and perhaps Mark James, that explains the poor start and restart for him and why he was dropping back, and now we see the full course yellow. But if, in fact, that engine was laying down, that would explain why Stephen Wilson unable to back up here in the race what he was able to do in practice and qualifying.
I'll leave it to Sebastian Saavedra to toe the rope, if you will, for Brian Herta Autosport, his teammate, and this is a rare finish outside of the top 10 for Stephen Wilson. He finished 3rd at St. Petersburg and 6th at Barber. His worst finish, again, mechanically related, a 17th place finish at Long Beach. He finished 7th in Indianapolis, 7th at Iowa. He's making just his 11th Firestone Indy Light start. A young man that many feel has a very bright future and is a talent that should be on par with his brother in just a couple of years, but tough end of the day for Stephen Wilson.
And Stephen Wilson, I tell you, Kevin Lee, he is very fortunate, and so is Adrian Campos Jr. We have heard that a lot of fluid was laid down on the track. The engine, it looked like, started to let go just as they were making their way into turn number 11, and Campos Jr. literally had his nose right up underneath the rear wing, may have been trying to set him up in the corner, but they're both very fortunate that the cars didn't spin and wind up in the safer barrier.
Just trying to find a safe way to get out, and he was in a pack of cars, so he had a difficult time finding a safe path to get off the racetrack, which he did just barely at the entrance to turn number 1.
What this does, Mark James, also gives Charlie Kimball another position. You don't want to wish bad luck on any of your competitors, but suddenly Charlie Kimball, whose crew was able to get that car repaired after the malfunction on the pace lap, is out on track, and that's going to, at the very worst, it's going to give him an 11th place finish here this afternoon.
And Mike, you're talking about a guy who had not finished outside of the top 5 until we got to Iowa. He started 13th and finished 13th. He had 3 runner-up finishes at Barber, Long Beach, and Indianapolis, and was a 4th place finisher at St. Petersburg. As a matter of fact, he's only started outside of the top 10 one time. Iowa was just a disastrous weekend for him, and he could ill afford back-to-back disastrous weekends. Normally a very dependable driver, very competitive. This is his 21st start, and he would be looking for his 13th top 10 overall, so maybe maybe this dark cloud will turn out to have a bit of a silver lining for Charlie Kimball today.
Well, the Honda Accord safety vehicle out on track with the field in tow as the track crew is there coming to the attention of the Stephen Wilson machine, which the malfunction with that engine laid down a lot of fluid. In fact, we're hearing from race control that fluid was laid down on the track from turn 10 all the way in to turn number 1. So the car being cleared from the tarmac area, the outside of turn number 1. Stephen Wilson's day is done. We're just, I think, very happy that both he and, as we mentioned, Adrian Campos Jr. were able to drive those cars through the corner without losing traction and suffer some damage. James Hinchcliffe, Hinch right now is the driver to beat. Quite simply, that's the only way to put it. Is he was working on better than a 2-second lead over J.K. Bernay. And, you know, Mark, it wasn't a situation where he had simply blown Bernay away. He was building on this lead by about 0.2 a lap. And as we mentioned, with now 14 laps complete, it was 2.0218 seconds, the differential between himself and Bernay as we completed that final lap. Sebastian Saavedra, though, has done a good job getting himself into third. And, Mark, this restart's going to be crucial. We'll see just how good Hinch is.
Yeah, but, Mike, I think clearly his car is hooked up today. That 115 laps led by Sebastian Saavedra, the most laps led in a single race. Now, usually if you start out front, chances are you're going to finish out front because the fewest laps led by a race winner is 31 laps at St. Petersburg. That's the fewest laps led by a race winner. So first is certainly the place to be in the Firestone Indy Lights series. And certainly Mr. Hinchcliffe finds himself P1 from the get-go, and he has had the dominant car all afternoon here at Watkins Glen.
Also interesting to note in the first 5 races on the 2010 Firestone Indy Lights schedule that no winner has come from worse than a second-place starting position. J.K. Bernay won the season opener at St. Pete from the outside of the front row. He was on pole at Barber Motorsports Park. James Hinchcliffe was on pole at Long Beach. Wade Cunningham started on the outside of the front row at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And, Mark, as you mentioned, Sebastian Saavedra, who led all 115 laps at Iowa, started on pole at Iowa Speedway. Interestingly enough, Mark, we saw a very different side of Sebastian Saavedra in the closing laps of that race at Iowa, where we saw him go very, very conservative, and lap traffic very nearly spoiled his day.
I don't think there's any question that he had some issues last year, and during the offseason he was able to strike a deal with Brian Herta Autosport, and I think Brian is with Sebastian Saavedra for the long haul, and usually that will do a lot to calm a driver down. There's a long-term, long-range plan in place for Brian Herta Autosport that they hope will eventually lead them to the IZOD IndyCar Series, and they have made no bones about the fact that Sebastian Saavedra is the driver that they want to make that ascension with. And Sebastian Saavedra, as you mentioned at Iowa, showed much more maturity than he did a year ago. A lot of drivers also in his corner. In addition, in terms of coaching, in addition to having the ownership group headed up by a guy like Brian Herta. But Mike, talking about Sebastian Saavedra, the way he ran at Indianapolis on race day, I think helped him grow up a lot and mature as a racer. It gave him confidence in these cars. And for those who may not know, he probably will go down in history as the only driver to ever make the Indianapolis 500 while getting an MRI at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's an incredible story, and if you don't know it, we unfortunately don't have time to go into all the details right now, but just to give you the quick thumbnail sketch of that situation. He had crashed his qualified car at 4:45 in the afternoon with an hour and 15 minutes remaining in qualifying for the 94th 500. Was bumped from the field not once but twice, re-entered the field after not one but 2 different qualified drivers withdrew their qualified times. He had no idea after he was bumped the first time, Mark, that he could even re-enter the field. He didn't even know that there was a mathematical shot at being placed back, and literally, as you mentioned, his father said to him over the intercom at Methodist Hospital while he was laid flat on his back in an MRI machine, "Congratulations, you made the race." And he said it was bedlam after that with a bunch of nurses telling him to lay still.
Now, certainly a great story, and since that time, obviously, he has ran very, very well in the Firestone Indy Light Series. Had a pretty decent weekend here, and he finds himself within striking distance. And as you mentioned, you talked to him earlier in the week, and he all but guaranteed a win here at Watkins Glen. If he's going to make good on that guarantee, obviously he's going to have to pedal some to get up front with the leader, because certainly Hinch appears to have the field covered. But Mike, there have been more than a few times throughout the history of this series and also the Eyes On IndyCar series where we thought through the midway point of the race a driver had the field covered, and then something strange happened and someone pulled off an upset win.
Well, Kevin Lee, we see that Stephen Wilson is making the long walk up pit lane behind all of the team's war wagons there, as he has had to make the walk back from where he parked his damaged race car down there in turn number 1. It was an engine malfunction that put him out of this race. Stephen was looking for the win after he started on the outside of the front row. And Charlie Kimball has also made a return to the pits. He is back out as Kevin Weiss should go back to green flag this time by.
And they're just using this really as a test session right now, and the car was not handling well. So they were at the back end, the tail end of that long line. So they came in to make some adjustments, and he'll be able to catch back up to the field before they go back to green. His only chance of picking up spots, though, was running laps and letting others drop out.
Well, Stephen Wilson will return to his pit stall, as now he will become essentially a cheerleader for his teammate at Brian Herta Autosport, and we've been talking about him, Sebastian Saavedra, as Sebastian Saavedra is currently shown in 3rd place. Hinchcliffe is your leader. 16 laps are complete. Will complete 17 of 30 at the line, as we expect to see Paul Blevin drop the green flag on the field. J.K. Bernay runs in 2nd place. Sebastian Saavedra is 3rd. Martin Plowman is 4th. And Anders Krohn, making his first Firestone Indy Light start, is currently shown in 5th place. Adrian Campos Jr., what does he have for the field? Could be kind of interesting. I think this guy might have a pretty good race car. We're going to see how he's going to measure his time in approaching both Krohn and Plowman. Gustavo Yakiman, Jake Query, has also shown a little more speed here in the last lap before we went to this caution yellow.
Yeah, Gustavo Yakiman, a driver who had a colossal disappointment at the end of the race in Iowa, and he was the first to admit that he made a mistake that cost his team, and no driver, of course, wants to do that. Right now, he warms up those tires as James Hinchcliffe, J.K. Bernay, then Saavedra, Martin Plowman, Anders Krohn, Campos Jr., and then Gustavo Yakiman. As they get ready now for the restart, they head through 8.
So as we watch the field, truly an international field, Mark Janes, as we talk about Anders Krohn, the rookie from Norway, James Hinchcliffe, the Canadian driver out in front, the Frenchman J.K. Bernay, who runs 2nd. And we've got not one but 2 drivers from Colombia in Gustavo Yakiman and, of course, Sebastian Saavedra, as they're already off of turn number 9.
Some drivers out of the race include Dan Clark and Pippa Mann from England. We've got a Spaniard and Campos Jr., as you said, and a couple of Americans. They're roaring through turn number 11 back down the main straightaway for the restart.
Off of turn number 11 as we'll complete 17 of 30 laps at the line. Live coverage of the Corning 100 here on IndyCar.com, and we're also happy to be on the public address system here at Watkins Glen International. James Hinchcliffe with another good start. Same story for Bernay. Question is, does anyone in the field have anything for these guys? Looks like Sebastian Saavedra may try to pull up on the rear wing of Bernay as they make their climb now through the S's up towards the back straight and the bus stop. James Hinchcliffe working on, I would say, somewhere in the neighborhood of a 10, maybe a 12-car length lead. But here comes Sebastian Saavedra. He's going to try to make the move to the inside. Will he have position? He will not, as Bernay holds him off in the bus stop. They exit the bus stop. They'll make their way on to turn number 5, the carousel, and Jake Query with the top 3 remaining the same. It looks like Saavedra is ready to get racing to Bernay as they head to the boot.
And you may be right in the fact that everyone may have to wait for James Hinchcliffe to make a mistake, and I don't know that that's going to happen right now. As they head in towards the boot, you've got Hinchcliffe, then about 10 car lengths, maybe 12 behind him is Bernay, then Sebastian Saavedra and Martin Plowman. The top 4 holds the form as they come out of the toe of the boot. They go racing. A little bit of movement in the back of the field as Campos Jr. tries to move in on Krohn. Krohn closing in on Martin Plowman.
They make their way through turn number 9. They're at the apex. A wide swing by Hinchcliffe. Bernay takes the same wide path. Saavedra, the top 3. Those guys kind of separated themselves a little bit. We had a pass back of the pack as the 77 machine slipped his way around the 10 machine of Gustavo Yakiman. So James Winslow, the rookie, picks up a spot as he makes his way through turn number 10.
Yeah, that was a nice move by Winslow as he got past Gustavo Yakiman. Here they come across the line. 18 of 30 laps will be complete. James Hinchcliffe still the driver in control. Bernay runs 2nd. The battle, though, begins to brew just a bit behind them as Crone and Plowman last time by look like Jake Query. And we've got a spin. A spin, and it is one of, it looks like it's the 22 machine. So it is Adrian Campos Jr. in turn number 1 who overdrove his braking point there, spun the car, kept it fired, and Mark James, he's going to get back into the fight, but that's going to cost him dearly.
Yeah, he certainly has a lot of positions to make up, and as we mentioned, after a 5th place finish at Iowa and a good qualifying run yesterday, he was expecting a good finish today, but it was not to be. Earlier, some mechanical woes for Stephen Wilson took him out of the Corning 100. We have a new leader headed out of the bus stop, out of the carousel. It's the number 7 machine of J.K. Vernay. Vernay enters the boot, Jake Query.
He does so. Sebastian Saavedra starts to put some heat on James Hinchcliffe. The front 3 have checked out. Hinchcliffe tries to keep Saavedra off of him, but J.K. Vernay makes his way now through turn number 7, then about 4 car lengths back to Hinchcliffe. Then you've got Sebastian Saavedra making noise. Those top 3 heading back into the view of Mark James.
While the leader, J.K. Vernay, and that number 7 Lucas Oil machine leads his way up the hill. Sebastian Saavedra now starts to beat and bang on the number 2 machine. He takes a peek to the inside. He's all over the rear wing at the exit of turn number 9. The 2 machine back into the throttle a little closer. The battle for second is a tight one headed to turn 11.
So working lap number 19, J.K. Vernay, the Frenchman and the championship leader, gets past James Hinchcliffe, who we thought may be in a position to walk away with this one early on. Right now, though, Hinchcliffe, who apparently made the mistake, up in the bus stop. We were watching his teammate, Adrian Campos Jr., try to gather up the car after running off the track in turn number 1. So, Mark James, I'm not exactly sure how in the world Vernay managed to reel him in that quick and get past him, because there was still about 15, 18 car lengths. As we watch the replay right now, Vernay simply got the run up the back straight, climbing the hill, and then Vernay beat him into the bus stop, Mark. A great move by J.K. Vernay.
Yeah, you wouldn't think the handling of the car is going away. I mean, Hinchcliffe has had, clean and green racetrack in front of him and really hadn't seemed to be driving the car, over driving it, we should say, through the corners. I mean, he wasn't throwing it through the corners in this area, but boy, maybe J.K. Vernay knew he had a fast race car, and he was just lying in wait until the perfect opportunity, and he found it.
Gustavo Yackaman went off course. He is back on track, so Gustavo Yackaman with a problem, as now we've had a couple of drivers that are experiencing problems that were running towards the front. Stephen Wilson went out earlier because of a mechanical malfunction on his Brian Herta Autosport machine. Let's find out what Stephen Wilson has to say. He is with Kevin Lee on pit lane.
We can guess what we think happened. What actually did happen?
Yeah, the engine actually the blew on us. It was a really unfortunate end for what was looking like a promising weekend for us. The number 28 guys have done a great job all weekend. All Brian Herta Autosport have done a good job. P2 in all practices and qualifying showed we're in a good shape, but it's unfortunate to go out how we did. The motor started going a few laps before it did. It was causing a lot of power issues, so I was very vulnerable down the straights and kept losing positions, so it's just disappointing.
Mechanical runs what could have been a good day for Stephen Wilson today.
Yeah, and Kevin Lee, while we were working lap 20, we mentioned that Gustavo Yackaman had gone off course in the bus stop. It was because of contact, and I'm not so sure that they didn't simply touch tires, but Anders Crone and Gustavo Yackaman trying to essentially go too wide through the bus stop. And Mark James, we all know after watching practice yesterday and today up there, you don't go too wide through the bus stop here at Watkins Glen.
Not careful, that curving is really going to upset the balance of the race car. Now, there are some drivers that will tell you they don't mind that, especially the guys out IndyCar series. Mike, we saw some guys literally get airborne over that curving, and they seem to be very comfortable doing that. Some drivers miss it altogether, so it's a matter of preference, but certainly that is an area where it's preferred that you think twice before you go too wide through there.
Both of those drivers, Jake Query, I think, escaped without damaging their cars. Very lucky to get through there. And let's remember that, Jake, there have been some changes to the bus stop this year. Last year, it looked like Crone would have, or Gustavo Yackaman at the very least, would have been in a gravel trap going through there, but now that area through the bus stop is completely paved as far as the runoff area, and they've installed the safer barrier.
Watched earlier today, Mike, when we were out with Kevin Lee, and you could see that during the IndyCar practice when we watched, Most drivers that went through there took the same line, but some of them, Ryan Briscoe comes to mind, got a little bit wider. Perhaps that's the case too when they go through there a couple wide in the Firestone Indy Lights during a racing session where they went through and maybe just thought they had more room than they did. I also wonder when that pass happened involving James Hinchcliffe and J.K. Vernay, that happened just about the same time as that incident with Gustavo Jacquemin. I don't wonder if perhaps James Hinchcliffe didn't get something in his radio that we were going to a caution and for some reason might have lifted. That's merely conjecture, but I thought I heard at one point that they were going to go to a caution with that incident, but then obviously Gustavo Jacquemin kept it on the track.
Yeah, Jake, and actually the pass for the lead occurred the lap prior to this incident with Krohn and with Gustavo Jacquemin, so I don't believe it played into that. As we watch the leaders now make their way through the bus stop, out in front, J.K. Vernay, the Frenchman, driving for Sam Schmidt Motorsports. He leads the championship standings, and he leads this race. After taking the lead, working on lap 19, through the bus stop, he got to the inside and simply made a power move, got the great run on James Hinchcliffe, who now runs in second place. So Hinchcliffe trying to find a way to make up about 6 car lengths on Vernay. Sebastian Saavedra, who said he was going to win this race. He told me on Tuesday he didn't think there was any way they could keep him out of victory lane. He is currently running third in the William Rask Brian Herta Autosport machine. Martin Plowman is fourth. Winslow has worked himself up to 5th place as now the cars make their way, Mark James, towards you and 9.
J.K. Vernay has led 2 races this year. The first 2, he led 31 laps at St. Pete, 39 laps at Barber. Those are the only laps that in races that he's led laps. When he's led laps, he's won, Mike. So he's trying to hold serve here by leading at Watkins Glen. J.K. Vernay looks for his 3rd win of the season off turn 11.
One thing's for sure, Mark, I don't think this race is anywhere near over. Right now, James Hinchcliffe is reeling in the number 7 Lucas Oil machine of J.K. Vernay as they make the right-hander into turn number 1 with Sebastian Saavedra back there lurking in 3rd place. There's less than 3 car lengths separating 1st and 2nd, now maybe make it 4 as they make their way through the S's, the climb up to the long back straight. So right now you've got the yellow and white machine of James Hinchcliffe, who led the first 18 laps of this race, trying to get back to the point, trying to chase down the Frenchman J.K. Vernay, the Sam Schmidt Motorsports, silver-white with the red accents machine, the black with black on the engine cowling. They make their way through the bus stop, and this continues to be a good battle already through the carousel. About 0.3 of a second separating 1st and 2nd place Jake Query as they make their way to the boot.
The last time they came into the boot, James Hinchcliffe actually is the one that bobbled just a little bit, and J.K. Vernay kept his distance of about 5 car lengths. That's where they stand right now. Those front 3 are so checked out right now. They've already gone through the toe of the boot just as Martin Plowman in 4th position starts to enter. J.K. Vernay has about 4 car lengths before you get back to James Hinchcliffe, then about 15 car lengths back to Sebastian Saavedra.
You can bet these drivers are mindful of the situation in terms of the points championship. Vernay leads Kimball by 23. Kimball is back in the pack a bit after a rough start. Hinchcliffe is 28 points back. Saavedra is 32 points back. Martin Plowman is 32 points back. So these guys battling for points as well as the trophy here at Watkins Glen.
Through turn number 11, J.K. Vernay still out in front, but the lead is now less than 2 car lengths as they streak across the start-finish line, completing 23 of 30 laps. Live coverage of the Corning 100. You're joining us this afternoon on IndyCar.com and, of course, around this great 3.4-mile, 11-turn layout that is Watkins Glen International. Through the S's, climbing the hill to the back straight. J.K. Vernay, the rookie in this series, trying to hold off James Hinchcliffe, the driver from Toronto, Canada, currently running in 2nd place as he gave up the lead on lap number 19. A pass by Vernay as they head back to the bus stop. Here's where the pass for the lead happened. It's not going to happen this time as Hinchcliffe now driving right in the tire tracks of Vernay through the carousel. The right-hander through turn number 5 and Jake Query. The top 2 cars will head back to you in the boot.
As we talked about, J.K. Vernay already has 2 wins on the year. He had 2 wins in Formula 3 Euro Series a year ago, and one of those came on the final lap of the race. So this young man in J.K. Vernay knows all about holding on till the very end, and he's going to have to do that to James Hinchcliffe in this one, because Hinchcliffe right now is filling up his mirrors. About 3 car lengths back, J.K. Vernay has James Hinchcliffe in tow. Then Sebastian Saavedra is about 10 or 12 car lengths behind Hinch.
It only makes sense these three should be battling it out for this win. After all, they have 4 race wins combined between them. They also have 4 poles between them. They're among the leaders in top 5 finishes and top 10 finishes, and they're also the top 3 in laps led, with Saavedra, Vernay, and Hinchcliffe running 1, 2, 3. Saavedra leading 119 laps on the season. So, Mike, the best of the best so far this year running up front.
Off of turn number 11, 24 laps will be complete. 6 laps remain at the line for J.K. Vernay and James Hinchcliffe. As they are already into turn number 1, they'll make the right-hand dive into this downhill turn. And negotiating that turn, Mark James, is oh so important. You may not think so. You may think it's a relatively simple turn, but we found out yesterday during the IZOD IndyCar Series practice session with E.J. Vizo, it is anything but.
Destroyed a race car, no question about it, and it cost him an opportunity to be part of the Firestone Fast 6 qualifying, and you got to credit the crew for getting the car put back together in time for E.J. Vizo. Trouble spots here are turn number 1, of course, the inner loop, the bus stop. It's referred to as both, and then certainly the area that we look over the top of, the exit of the boot, turn number 8, and then coming through turn number 9. Those are the 4 trouble spots where drivers need to be careful about hitting their marks. Meanwhile, the leader in front of Jake Query.
And the leader right now kind of grows out that lead just a little bit, because J.K. Vernay the last couple of times through has had a 2, maybe 4, 5 car length advantage, and now as he comes around turn number 7, climbs on the brakes just a little heavy, and that allows Hinchcliffe to close in, but still about a 4 car length advantage now. James Hinchcliffe behind J.K. Vernay.
Well, when you've had 5 starts and you've only been off the podium 1 time, that was a 13th place finish at Indianapolis, and your worst start is 6th, you're going to lead the points championship. That's where J.K. Vernay is right now, looking for his 3rd win as he leads James Hinchcliffe to the apex of turn 10.
Well, the Sam Smith Motorsports Lucas Oil sponsored machine will come off of turn number 11 yet again, and we'll see 5 fingers from Paul Blevin in the flag stand. That's all that remains. 5 laps as he is out in front. The differential at the line will give it to you, 36 hundredths of a second as they make the dive into turn number 1. So it is Vernay, Hinchcliffe, Saavedra runs 3rd, but right now he is being shown 2.5 seconds behind the race leaders. Martin Plowman shown in 4th place. Winslow is up to 5th. Major is 6th. Campos Jr. is 7th. Yakiman is 8th. Crone has dropped back to 9th after a strong showing in the first half of this one. Barbosa is 10th. Kimball is 11th. Wilson is shown in 12th place and out of the race after an engine failure. Clark and Pippa Mann will be given 13th and 14th place respectively after getting together early in this race, exiting turn number 9 and heading to turn number 10. It is J.K. Vernay. He is your race leader. 26 of 30 will be complete as they approach the line. This time, Jake Query, they already head back to you in the boot.
You know, the funny thing about it is when we talked about James Hinchcliffe in the first third of this race, we were saying he was going to have to make a bobble or a mistake for somebody else to catch up to him. Well, J.K. Vernay now seems to be on the same rails that James Hinchcliffe was on. Granted, Hinchcliffe now is running a pretty good line. The unfortunate thing, that line's about 6 car lengths behind J.K. Vernay.
We're looking for a first-time winner. J.R. Hildebrand, Richard Antonucci, Rafa Matos, Wade Cunningham, Alex Lloyd, Bobby Wilston, Jeff Simmons. A lot of those names in the IZOD IndyCar Series in past and today have all won here. J.K. Vernay just a handful of laps away, but James Hinchcliffe may have something to say about that.
Well, you might wonder why you haven't heard Davey Hamilton for the last 30 or 40 minutes. Davey had to leave early. He will be in the IZOD IndyCar Series 2-seater, and he will be giving one lucky fan what a great thrill as he will be out on track for the start of the race with the fan in the back seat of that car, and it is just one of the great promotional situations in place for the IZOD IndyCar Series, and IZOD has done such a fabulous job. But as we turn our attention now to the back straight, we watch less than 3 car lengths separating first and second place. James Hinchcliffe looking like he wanted to try to make the move to the inside, unable to do it as J.K. Vernay continues to hold in. Now he goes to the side. They're going to go side by side, and Hinchcliffe will make the pass. James Hinchcliffe will go back out in front. No, we're going to go back and we watch Hinchcliffe as Hinchcliffe now tries to enter turn number 6 with the lead, unable to hold on as Jake Query, they head to you in the boot. James Hinchcliffe, it looked like he was going to make the pass. He was unable to make it stick in the bus stop.
He is doing everything he can, though, on that number 7 machine, James Hinchcliffe is. He's in with about a car length and a half behind J.K. Vernay. Hinchcliffe looked to the outside, now the inside. tries to get to the inside in turn 7. J.K. Vernay shuts the door. They move now, heading north into turn number 8, about a 3-car length separation.
Hinchcliffe led wire to wire at Long Beach, 45 laps after starting from pole, and he's within a car length now of that number 7 machine of J.K. Vernay. Vernay with a smooth line through turn number 9, back into the throttle full song. They've separated themselves from Sebastian Saavedra, who looks like he's going to hold on for a podium finish here. He is well in front of Martin Plowman. Mike, the leader's in front of you.
Yeah, you know, I thought I was going to see Hinchcliffe make the pass last time by in the bus stop the same way we saw it on lap number 19. It didn't happen. Here they come. Less than 3 car lengths separate first and second place. 27 laps are complete. We are working lap number 28 of the 30 that make up the Corning 100 off of turn number 1 as they make the downhill run. Then they'll bottom out and then climb the S's up to the back straight. First and second place separated now by 27 hundredths of a second, as now they'll make the long run to the bus stop. Let's see who's going to get there first. This was the area that J.K. Vernay got the great run as we were working lap 19 on James Hinchcliffe. He gets there first. About 3 car lengths continue to separate first and second place. They'll exit the bus stop into turn number 5. Only a couple of more times will we see them in that section of the racetrack. Jake Query, they now make the move to turn number 6. Still about 4 car lengths separating first and second.
And they're only about 20 or 30 seconds behind the back of the field to give you an idea how well these two guys have run. The back, by the way, Rodrigo Barbosa got by Anders Krohn, so obviously a problem it would seem with that number 4 machine who was running in the top 5 at one time. But right now, all eyes up front. J.K. Vernay, they come out of turn 7. James Hinchcliffe still can't make up any ground as the Frenchman in car 7 moves into the view of Mark James.
Well, Sam Schmidt Motorsports looking for its 4th win of the season. Vernay with the first 2 at St. Pete and Barber. Then Wade Cunningham in the 77 machine at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. J.K. Vernay exits turn number 9. He gets to the middle of the racetrack, now swings it wide, gets to the bottom as he makes the left-hander and dials it toward turn 11.
Here they come to turn number 11. They'll make the turn. It is still J.K. Vernay leading James Hinchcliffe. As they come to the line, we'll give you the differential. Crossing underneath Paul Blevin in the flag stand. It has grown just a bit from 23 hundredths to 49 hundredths of a second. It's about 5 car lengths as they're in turn number 1. Sebastian Saavedra now has fallen off the pace just a bit as he runs 3.5 seconds behind the race leader. Martin Plowman shown in 4th place. Right now, pretty much running out there all by himself is Charlie Kimball is the next car in line, but Kimball finds himself 4 laps down to the race leader. So here's the way the field runs right now with less than 2 laps remaining here at Watkins Glen International. It's Vernay who took the lead working lap number 19 out in front in the Sam Schmidt machine. Hinchcliffe runs second in the Team Moore Racing Team Extreme Coil Drilling car. Saavedra in the William Rast machine out of Brian Herta Autosport runs 3rd. Martin Plowman is 4th. James Winslow is 5th. And Major, Campos Jr., Yackerman, Barbosa, Krohn, who had a great first half of this race, but Mark James has seen the car drop off, and he is now shown in 10th place as we have less than 2 laps remaining.
Still got to be happy with a top 10 finish. His first time out is Anders Krohn, and you saw him in the first part of the race, Mike. He was awfully racy, and, it's been a valuable experience for him. He's getting plenty of seat time, no doubt about that. So Anderson Racing has to be happy with the effort of Anders Krohn here. Meanwhile, a peek in at the leaders. The number 7 Lucas Oil machine of J.K. Vernay with LifeLock sponsorship on board. Team Moore Racing's James Hinchcliffe running all by their lonesome into turn 10.
And you know, Jake Query, I've got to wonder, Anders Krohn was so racy, as Mark mentioned, in the first half of this race. He and Yackerman making the contact in the bus stop. I got to wonder if, in fact, his car may have suffered a little bit of damage.
Because right now he finds himself, does Anders Krohn, about 20 car lengths behind Rodrigo Barbosa, and Barbosa has just made that pass the last circuit through. So you've got to think maybe that car got away from him just a little bit, but still a pretty good day for Anders Krohn, and certainly impressive for his first outing here in the Firestone Indy Lights.
White flag is out, and the leaders have already made their way to the back straight. J.K. Vernay continues to work on about a 4-car length lead over James Hinchcliffe as he will make the right-hand turn into the bus stop. He will beat Hinchcliffe there by about 0.2 of a second. Hinchcliffe right in his tire tracks as they exit the bus stop, then make the right-hander into the carousel, turn 5. The long, winding turn number 5 will throw them around as now they'll make the straightaway run. Jake Query to the boot for the final time this afternoon as we're working lap number 30.
2 of the guys that have been the class of the Firestone Indy Lights Series so far this year battling it out at historic Watkins Glen. J.K. Vernay takes the right-hander around turn number 7. Hinchcliffe is right on him. James Hinchcliffe about a car length and a half behind. Now Vernay tries to give himself a little bit of breathing room. Mark James, they head into your view.
Hinchcliffe got a great run coming down out of the bus stop in the inner loop, if you will. He's to within a half a car length. For the 4th time this season, J.K. Vernay trying to become a pole sitter to win in the Firestone Indy Light Series. Hinchcliffe all over him. He takes a peek to the inside in turn 10.
This one is going to come right down to the line as J.K. Vernay will come off of turn number 11 with a 2-car length lead, maybe less. Here comes Hinchcliffe. Hinchcliffe pulls to the rear wing, but he will not have enough, and James J.K. Vernay, the Frenchman, will win for the 4th time. Make it the 3rd time in 2010 as he takes what was a very exciting Corning 100 here at Watkins Glen International. Mark James, you don't get much better than that on a 3.4-mile, 11-turn layout as it came right down to the line between two very talented young drivers.
I got to believe the first time that J.K. Vernay climbed into the cockpit of that number 7 Lucas Oil machine, he thought, boy, what a race car that I have. And, Mike, he has made the most of it. Again, hasn't been off the podium except for that 13th place finish at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He set up and impressed us right away with J.K. Vernay starting 2nd, finishing 1st at St. Pete. He won from the pole at Barber. He's been racing every weekend, and, I'll tell you, we're watching, again, a young man who is making people set up and take notice of his abilities. The likable Frenchman gets his 3rd win and the 4th win of the season for Sam Schmidt Motorsports. J.K. Vernay masters Watkins Glen International Raceway.
J.K. Vernay, who hails from Villeurbanne, France, and he will be making his way to Victory Lane here at historic Watkins Glen. Kevin Lee, you've got the winning team and the winning engineer.
Tim Neff engineered the car for J.K. Vernay. Difficult to pass anywhere except the start of the race or a restart. How did he get by him there past the midpoint?
It's probably because we ran less downforce than Hinch. I mean, after qualifying, it was the only way we were going to get to the front was to run less downforce, so that's what we did.
How talented is J.K. Vernay, 3rd win of the season?
You made me look good today, I'll tell you that.
Tim Neff headed to Victory Lane. By the way, on my math, I have it now as a 38-point lead for J.K. Vernay on James Hinchcliffe, who moves up to 2nd in the championship.
J.K. Vernay, the championship leader, everyone understands why. As Mark James mentioned a bit earlier, his 3rd win, and he has only been off the podium once in 6 races, this rookie from France. As we told you earlier, Vernay won the season opener at St. Pete, won race number 2 at Barber Motorsports Park, and now in his 6th start in 2010 has added his 3rd win of the season and pads his championship lead. So Vernay came in with a 23-point lead, and he will go to Toronto in 2 weeks, certainly with that being expanded. Charlie Kimball, as we told you, came into this event 2nd in the championship. He did manage to salvage an 11th place finish after failing to take the green flag with the rest of the field on the start as the car had problems. And he said it simply felt as though the car ran out of fuel. Here's your top 10. J.K. Vernay with the pass, working lap number 19. He gets past James Hinchcliffe, going into the bus stop, and what a nice run it was as we're watching the replay right now on the big screens here at Watkins Glen International. That was the move that won it. It looked like James Hinchcliffe might run away and hide here through the first half of this race, but Vernay said, no, sir, not going to happen. Vernay is your winner. Hinchcliffe winds up 2nd at the line, 21 hundredths of a second, separated 1st and 2nd place. Sebastian Saavedra, he winds up 3rd. Martin Plowman was 4th. James Winslow winds up 5th. Major was 6th. Campos Jr. was 7th. Yakiman was 8th. Barbosa was 9th. Crone, who was very racy in the first half of this race here today, winds up going to 10th, but keep in mind that he and Gustavo Yakiman did make contact in the bus stop. I believe it was on lap 21 where that contact occurred, so it could be that he was driving with a damaged race car for the final 10 laps of this one. Charlie Kimball, as we mentioned, winds up with an 11th place finish. However, he did finish 4 laps down to the rest of the field. Stephen Wilson, he had an engine expire in his Brian Herta Autosport machine. He pulled it off in turn number 1 with 13 laps complete. Then you've got Clark and Mann, who tangled early in the race, and they wind up 13th and 14th. Let's go to Victory Lane and hear from J.K. Vernay. Kevin Lee, you're there.
He's just climbed from the cockpit, jumps off the top of the side pod. Congratulations. Tell me about that pass. I think it was lap 19 little past the midpoint of the race going into the bus stop.
Yeah, it was really a hard race. I didn't know the track when I arrived here, so I had to learn the track. It's so beautiful, but so complicated also. So we improved practice after practice, and the race, the car was just fabulous. We had a bit less downforce than Hinchcliffe. That's why I overtook him in the straight, and he did a little mistake also in corner 1, and yeah, I was able to overtake him. It's just fantastic because all the team did a great job. The Lucas Oil car was incredible, and yeah, we have to continue like that. I'm really happy. It's a really good thing for the championship, and yeah, 3 wins for a rookie is not bad.
And you really jumped out of the box and showed us something winning the first 2 races. You've had a pretty good grasp on the championship. It got close for a little while. Winning the championship is one thing. How important is it to you, though, to make a statement to move up by winning a lot of races this season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm here to win the championship, even if I'm a rookie. But yeah, I want to show at the IndyCar team that I'm performant, even if I don't know the track and I'm a rookie. So it's we just work a lot with my engineer, all the team. Sam Schmidt Motorsport did a great job again. And yeah, we just have to be focused like that until the end of the season.
The racing was really good. After you got by Hinchcliffe, he did not give up. He was on your tail and made another change. You said it was turn 1 where you made the original pass. He almost got by you going into the bus stop, I think.
Yeah, I arrived, like I said, I had a bit less downforce than him. So when he overtook me after in the straight, he was not able to overtake me. It's better for me. I didn't know it. It was really fair between him and me. Congrats to him because he was really quick and he gave me a really hard life. But yeah, I'm really happy.
Congratulations. Nice job.
Thank you.
J.K. Vernay, his 3rd win of the season here at Watkins Glen, now a commanding lead in the championship.
Yeah, and I would say, Kevin, that, yeah, 3 wins for a rookie, not bad, particularly when you come to a course, as he mentioned, for the first time ever and managed to take that car to victory lane. Sam Schmidt Motorsports, however, has a habit of doing things like that, and certainly that team, a great scout of young talent. And you know, Kevin, it was interesting to hear Vernay say, you know, right out of the box, look, I want to make sure that IndyCar Series teams understand that I'm here. You know, that is on his mind, as it should be for every driver in this Firestone Indy Lights Series.
And we've talked about this before earlier this season. His plan is to make the jump not by bringing a barrel full of money. He says, I'm going to get there by just showing my talent. I am worthy of a ride without funding. I'm going to show someone that they need to attach the funding to me. And so far, so good for J.K. Vernay. We're still in victory lane, and Joe Barbieri from Firestone is with us here. Part of Firestone Indy Lights and Firestone's commitment is that they reward some of those that are not here on the podium with the lucky 3. So we've got our drawing, Joe.
We do. We have positions 11, 12, 13, and 14 in our little go-kart tire here. I'm going to pull it. The first position that I pull, which is number 11. Position 11 will win $2,500 from Firestone.
That's Charlie Kimball.
Second one pulled out is position number 13. Lucky 13 will win $1,500 from
That's
Firestone.
Dan Clark.
One more. Position number 12 will win $1,000 from Firestone.
And that's Stephen Wilson. So congratulations to those 3 drivers getting a little extra check to go home with. And again, thanks to Firestone for their commitment, Joe.
Our pleasure. Great race out there. Hope everybody enjoyed it.
Mike, back to you.
Yeah, I hope this, and I believe it will set the stage for what should be a great Camping World Grand Prix at the Glen that comes up. In fact, we will be back on the air with you on the full IMS radio network on XM IndyCar 145, on Sirius 212 and IndyCar.com. We'll be back with you in just 22 minutes, so a very quick turnaround. By the way, I want to remind all of you fans around the course listening to us on the public address system that if you have your radios with you, you can tune to WPGI FM 100.9 FM in Horseheads, New York for the broadcast. Also to WRCE AM 1490 here in Watkins Glen. So once again, there are 2 local affiliates that you can hear on your radios here at the track, WRCE AM 1490 and WPGI FM 100.9. So we're hoping to get a word with James Hinchcliffe, our second place finisher, but I believe James may have already departed the premises, as we'll give Kevin Lee another minute or 2 to make his way to see if he can find Hinch, who had a great run. But, you know, Kevin Lee, I'm sure that he is very upset that he didn't win this race to allow Vernay to get that run on him. I'm sure that Hinch feels like this is one he let get away.
Yeah, I would imagine he's pretty frustrated. He had an opportunity, I think, to make another little statement today. And Hinch is walking up to us now, so we'll try to catch up with him here in just a minute as he finishes talking up with some other media. So I'll toss it back to you, and we'll get it back in just a second.
Okay, just about time to say goodbye, obviously, as we begin preparations for our IZOD IndyCar Series Camping World Grand Prix at the Glen broadcast that, once again, as we mentioned, will come your way in just about 21 minutes or so. Once again, it was J.K. Vernet, the winner, the pass on lap 19 as he got the run to the inside of James Hinchcliffe, who looked like he was almost unbeatable in that number 2 machine, but it turned out not to be. Saavedra winds up third. That's your top 3, the drivers on the podium. Let's hear from James Hinchcliffe, our second-place finisher here today at Watkins Glen.
And the podium presentation about to start. He's talking with our third-place finisher, Sebastian Saavedra. You led more than half this race. You had a great opportunity, James. Tell me about this, the pass that he made with you going into 1, I understand.
It was actually into the bus stop. We just come off that restart, and they had that kitty litter all down in turn 1 there, and we saw it on that first lap, drove down the inside, but then after that on the second lap, I figured you should start getting back to the normal racing line, and I just got on the dust and got completely sideways coming out of 1, and that just gave him the run down to the bus stop. So it's tragic. We had the car, we had easily the best car today. It was the only mistake we've made all weekend long, but unfortunately it cost us the win. So I'm pretty embarrassed. My crews are better than that. I mean, that was the number 1 car. Those guys did such a good job all weekend. So for us to come home second is a pretty bitter pill to swallow. But that's racing. We got another one in 2 weeks' time in my hometown. So we're going to keep our head up and go take it to them there.
We head to Toronto next, and James Hinchcliffe will go there second in the championship.
So there it is, Kevin. We were wondering where the mistake was, where, in fact, it was Vernet was able to make up the ground, and it happened in turn 1. At the time, we were watching, I believe it was Adrian Campos Jr. With the spin down there in turn number 1. We were keeping our eye on him to make sure he was going to be able to keep the car fired, and that's when the mistake occurred for his teammate in the car that identical livery, the number 2 car for James Hinchcliffe. But one bobble, Kevin, and it shows you that's all it takes on a course like this when the competition is that close up front. So quite literally, James Hinchcliffe made one mistake that cost him about a half a second, and it cost him the race.